That's a tough question, but basically there are more than 7,000 languages worldwide. That's a lot of diversity. And when studying this diversity, researchers found that there is an interaction between language and the cognitive system. So for example, how you speak is going to have an effect on how you think and the other way around. When looking at this interaction, one of the theme is interaction between gender in language and gender in society. For example, the World Bank report in 2018 suggests that if a language has grammatical gender, it's going to limit in a certain ways females' opportunities in the workplace or in other domains. So, however, the data of this report is not available online, and it's looking at things synchronically. So what we would like to do is to further develop the data by having open access data and going more in depth with it, and also to look at the interaction diachronically rather than synchronically.
Like classifying nouns into different categories based on gender. In the world, there are about 38% of population speaking gender language, and the gender categories are typically masculine, feminine, or neutral. For example, in French and in Spanish, nouns are categorized either masculine or feminine, and this gender assignment influences the use of the articles and adjectives used with these nouns. In many languages using grammatical gender, the masculine form is usually used as a generic form. And some studies shows that using the genetic masculine form may create a socially masculine bias in interpretation, and which means that the females could be easily invisibilized. And finally, in terms of the relationship between language and social practices, a study using World Bank's data found a negative association between language genders and women's labor force participation. They also found that grammatical gender predicts support for traditional gender roles.
So the data that we use come from several sources, including the typological GramBank database, as well as a paper by Mark and others, which contains the relevant data for more than 3,000 languages. So we use several variables from the dPlace ethnographic database. For instance, whether there is a strong sex-based division of labor, or whether women are punished for having sex before marriage.
We will use phylogenetic comparative methods borrowed from biology. These models will allow us to examine the evolutionary relationships between grammatical gender and gender inequality, while incorporating the information about relatedness between languages and their geographic proximity. This is especially important for our global study that will encompass many different language families, such as Indo-European and Sino-Tibetan. And the languages within these families vary greatly in how closely related they are to each other. For instance, French is more related to Spanish than it is to German. And it will be critical to incorporate this information about relatedness in our models in order to arrive at robust results.